For the first time, India launches its so-called Fat Boy rocket to orbit, now on kNews. Hi, Lucas here. Welcome to this kNews special and a big thank you to my kNews boosters on Patreon. On June 5th at 11:58 UTC, the Indian GSLV Mk III was scheduled to launch from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in India. As I record this, the launch has not taken place yet, so I am not aware of the outcome. However, I still want to tell you what it is all about. GSLV is built in India and will for the first time use a cryogenic upper stage, similar to rockets like Europe's Ariane 5 for example. Standing next to each other, both look similar but in fact work quite differently. GSLV's large solid rocket boosters, for example, are their own stage. This means the core engine will not ignite at liftoff but act as a second stage to begin firing shortly before booster separation. I think both vehicles are called heavy lift rockets, but at least according to NASA, that term is reserved for rockets capable of delivering 20 to 50 metric tons to a low Earth orbit. While Ariane 5 has a theoretical maximum payload capacity of exactly 20 tons, it was never actually utilized, I believe. GSLV Mk III has a maximum of 10 metric tons to low Earth orbit and is therefore a medium lift launch vehicle similar to Delta IV, Atlas V and a reusable Falcon 9. The expandable version of Falcon actually lifts a little more than 20 tons, but the upcoming Falcon Heavy will even count as a super heavy lifter since it can bring an estimated 63.8 metric tons to orbit. So GSLV will not be able to compete with that, but the key here is 10 tons are enough to get a capsule with astronauts on board to space. Yes, India wants to put humans in orbit and this rocket is the first capable of doing so. It will require a few successful launches to get human rated and certified, but that's only a question of time and funding. The technology is here. Speaking of it, since it is a rocket designed to launch humans, it is built with maximum reliability in mind. That's why the first two stages use a mixture of solid motors and hypergolic fuel. The engines burning such fuels are comparably simple to other more complex ones like the upper stage uses. It's quite dirty but relatively safe once aloft. Solid propellant can't flame out early and hypergolic fuel can't fail to ignite since it ignites all by itself once the two fuel components mix. On top GSLV today is or was GSAT-19E, a communication satellite which is shot into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. It weighs a little over 3 tons and leaves some spare performance of the upper stage, which can push a maximum of 4 tons into such a trajectory. A transfer orbit like this reaches altitudes of 35,000 kilometers but is highly elliptical. The satellite will have to circularize its orbit using its own engines and roughly 2 tons of fuel. This is pretty common for communication satellites since pushing them directly into a circular orbit would mean to push the upper stage there as well. This upper stage would then be orbital debris among communication satellites, not to mention all the energy required to get the extra mass there. Going east, the rocket will, as mentioned, only fire its boosters as the first stage and ignite its core just before separation. It will of course take a few seconds to get the engines up and running, and I have hopes that this separation will look spectacular. However, I'm not sure if we will be able to see that. Once the second stage burns out, the moment of truth has come. Will the cryogenic stage ignite? I think it will be one of the most critical moments during the mission, since this is something you can't really test on ground. Low atmospheric pressure, high speeds and eventually weightlessness make such ignitions challenging. The separation itself is also not as easy as it seems. The upper stage could spin out of control should the spring mechanism not work as expected. All in all, I think this launch will be very interesting to watch no matter if it's live or not. The payload itself plays a secondary role in my opinion, since everyone is watching India's human rocket liftoff. My fingers are crossed for India. Okay, that shall conclude this Fat Boy special and I hope to see you next kNews episode if you like. Auf Wiedersehen and thank you for watching.